Welcome back, friends, and good morning. We're paying tribute to our legendary friend and former co-worker Chuck Leonard, who passed away on Friday at the age of 71. Chuck was a good man and a friend to many, and really a great role model to a lot of folks who came through this building too at a young age and starting out in sometimes their first job. And Chuck was a guiding light in this newsroom for many, many years. And one of those folks he impacted in a significant way is a guy named J.T. Fellows, who's with us now this morning. J.T. now works for Piedmont Hospital. He's one of the public relations experts for Piedmont. J.T., good morning, sir. Thanks for being with us today.
Hey Ben, good morning. Thanks for having me.
I want to start by asking you, first off, what did Chuck mean to you? And tell us about how you got to know him and what that relationship was like.
It was pretty special. So WTVM was my first job. In fact, I was still in college. I was at Columbus State University and just moved here to Columbus, originally from South Georgia. So country boy, pretty shy. And so I walked into the TV station. It was Halloween 2014. And so, as you remember, Halloween, the anchors and were the person that always dress up. And so Chuck was decked out as a cowboy that year. And so that's how I remember Chuck, first meeting him. Um, and so he could tell I was a little nervous. So he, came over, welcomed me, and just made conversation, just small talk. He just wanted to know all about me. And here I was, kind of shell shocked. I mean, I grew up watching him. I remember back in the day, he was reading the cafeteria menu, what was for lunch, and then doing the birthday club. And I was like, wow, I get to work with Chuck. That's pretty neat. Um, so back before, things were robotic, we were actually had people in the studio operating the cameras. And so I was Chuck's cameraman in the studio. And so got to spend many a morning with Chuck and Cheryl. And so it was pretty fun. I wrote on Facebook, I was like, I wish people at home knew all the fun things that happen behind the scenes that, you never know about. Um, During a commercial break, you've got the iPad with your, scripts for the teleprompter, and it wouldn't be anything for him just to pull up a song from back in the day and just be jamming out. But during the commercial break or, playing a trivia game, did you know so-and-so? And he would just spit out random facts and knowledge, and he was just a pleasure to work with. Um, and then back in the newsroom, my desk was right next to his, and so that knowledge spilled over all throughout the shift. So it was never a dull moment with Chuck.
He
Lots of
was
fun.
he was like the random facts trivia king, right? I mean, he would come up with some obscure stuff, right?
Yeah, it would just be off the wall. It's like, oh, did you know back in 1848, so and so, and da 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 da. I was like, no, Chuck, I had no clue. I was born in '94, so I have no idea. But you've learned a lot from Chuck, whether random or about life or the television business itself. It's tough. A lot of people don't realize that because they only see the folks at home and what you put out on the air. But there's a lot of work behind the scenes, and he just made it look flawless when it's not. So
Yeah, that was my next question for you. I was curious, as somebody who's been in the room where it happens, right? Uh, and in those days, you had Chuck Leonard on the desk. Things go haywire in newscasts all the time. When that moment happens, when the teleprompter goes down, when the video's fried, tell us about Chuck in that circumstance.
he could make anything look great. There would be many a newscast where we would have technical issues, the teleprompter would skip, or there would be no video, and Chuck would just roll with the punches, and he, sort of had an idea in his mind, okay, here's what's happening in the show, and so he would just go out and wing it. I mean, I don't need a script, I don't need a teleprompter. I'm just going to go out and do my thing, and if all else fails, we'll just toss to weather or go to commercial break, and cool, calm, and collected. So that was Chuck, just consummate professional, I guess you could say.
Yeah, absolutely. An all star in the profession, for certain. Let me ask you this. what do you take away from your encounters? And you moved on to Piedmont to work for the hospitals, and Chuck retired. You stayed in touch, close in touch, and just your takeaway from Chuck the man now that he's passed away, and what's going to stick with you through the years and decades to come when you think about him?
Yeah. So, a lot of life lessons. I mean, a lot of information about the news business and, grammar and that sort of thing. But more important than that, he taught you about life and how to be a good person, be a good friend. Um, you know, I left the TV station, moved on. We still stay in touch. We would catch up, have lunches together, and it was like we never miss a beat. He would pop out some trivia, and I would say, "Oh, you remember this funny moment, a long time ago?" And things were just good. And so he taught you the importance of the value of friendship, just being nice to the person that's next to you. I mean, you never know whether you're in the grocery store or you know walking down the street. Just being kind to each other. That was a very important thing in life, and that's sort of what I'll take away from having the honor of working with Chuck and being his friend. He and his wife, always joked around and called me their adopted son, and that was very special to me. And um, I'm gonna definitely miss Chuck, but at the same time, we've got a lot of memories, lots of laughter, and good things to remember Chuck. So he'll be greatly, greatly missed.
Well, I'll tell you this before we let you go. Chuck kept good company, and you're part of that. And once a member of the News Leader 9 family, always a member of the News Leader 9 family. And we appreciate your time so much coming on to remember our friend and our family member, Chuck Leonard. Do you have a final thought before we let you go, JT?
Um, I mean, it was just Chuck was one of a kind. I mean, I don't want to sound cliche, but there will not be another Chuck Leonard. I mean, he was very special, just very personable, kind, compassionate, and he just loved people. Very simple, very down to earth.
Wonderful. JT Fellows, thanks so much for being with us this morning. We appreciate your time today, brother.
Thanks, Ben. Good seeing you.
You too. We're going to take a break. We'll be right